Welcome to SIPAcon. My name is Mateen, Syed. I have a distinct pleasure of welcoming Ramneek Bhasin. Ramneek is the CEO and founder of Mobio Networks. This is his third startup. In fact, we go a long way back, and I had the pleasure of volunteering with Ramneek for the other Big Ten event icon, and I've learned a lot from him. So it's truly a pleasure to welcome Ramneek. Ramneek, welcome.
Thanks, Mateen. Yeah, it's a pleasure to work with you for a different organization this time.
It's a great startup. I keep hearing good feedbacks about your company and the product. But looking at the current scenario, I just wanted to ask you, what's the impact of this meltdown, particularly to the industry that you work in and also for your company?
Sure. So it's been very hard to make money in mobile for startups up till now. I mean, there have been very few successes. I mean, you've had in the gaming space, you had Jamdat, that was success, and then on the infrastructure side, you had companies like Amcube and Mobile 365 that at least had exits. But in general terms, it's been very hard to make money in mobile, and we discovered it not very differently. And as a company, Mobio discovered the opportunity in Asia Pac, and very specifically in India. And it was very fortunate that I happened to be of Indian origin. Till as recently as 2 years ago, I had not done business in India. But now once I discovered the phenomena of mobile growth in India, and the numbers are well known, India is adding 8 to 9 million new subscribers every month. China is adding 6 million subscribers every month. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go figure out that the opportunity is there. So what we did was we took a very hard decision as a startup company, is that we bit the bitter pill and shut down US operations completely, and said we're just going to focus everything. As a startup, you've got one bullet, and we decided to fire that one bullet in Asia Pac, and that's what we're doing is basically gutting the company here.
I want to build on that question, but let me ask you one other question. I remember 2005, everybody was talking about the flat world. Okay. Times like these, people start crunching. You have answers pretty much everything you said to India. Are there any ramifications of this when there's a global downturn going on, especially for businesses here?
I think it's great. In my mind, it's an export. US is exporting talent. US is exporting know-how. US is exporting expertise into the Asia Pac region. At least in my example. It's a net win. I mean, if you take a look at a larger player like Apple, they're exporting 4 or 5 million iPhones a quarter to Europe and other developed countries. So I think it's a net gain for the economy. Sure, they'll have local jobs there as well, but US, to the extent that US can become a net exporter, is very powerful for the economy. I mean, Silicon Valley and California are one of the largest exporters in the United States, and it is because of companies like Cisco and Apple and then startups like ours that are exporting different things into large parts of the world. So it's a net gain for the economy.
But the business model in India was also built in the hope that the economy is going to continue to grow by multi-fold. But it just came to a halt. There have been people have been laid off in India also. Correct. So you're prepared for a slowdown.
Yes.
In the Indian market.
Absolutely.
How did you talk to investors and say, well, these are the challenges which we didn't anticipate, or maybe you anticipated, I don't know, but I want to hear from you that the ROI is going to be different than what we had anticipated when we started.
Now, in our particular case, we lucked out a little bit. We saw this coming in July, August timeframe. So just as a matter of record, I shut US operations down in August because I knew that the expense ratios were just not sustainable. So if you have to service the Asia Pac market, you have to service it at a much lower cost base. So you can call it prescient or you can call it luck. We did see that coming. What we did not see coming was the depth and the extent of the downturn. And so what we are telling the investors is that everybody has to have patience, including the founding team, including the investors. Everybody has to have patience to kind of ride through this. On the operating side of the company, you have to have the patience to work with a reduced budget, work with a lot fewer bells and whistles, become laser focused on the deliverables, on the timelines. At least you can keep marching to, at least keep doing things that you can control, do them well, and execute as flawlessly as you can to the things that you control. Don't worry about the external environment. The external environment is what it is. and it will take care of itself over a period of time. There's a lot of money being pumped into the economy. So things will improve over a period of time. But you've got to have the patience to ride it out. So what you need to do is really take a look at your balance sheet, at your cash flow situation, and at least gear up for the next 12 to 15 months to have that survivor mentality, or as some other VC eloquently put it, the cockroach mentality, to survive this downturn.
We'll talk about human capital, which is where most of us are dependent on. There's a rich talent pool in India, but in times like this, there are people looking for opportunities to go back and work there, maybe for a longer time, maybe for a shorter time. And these are very difficult times for people. What do you look for in terms of talent? And how do you advise professionals who are trying to mind it back?
So while India has a lot of talent in terms of raw engineering skills, raw management skills, raw sales and marketing skills, the key components that are missing for the Indian professional is product management. And Silicon Valley has taken product management to a very fine level, where you can manage the end-to-end life cycle of a particular product. Now, India, at least the technical community in India, and even the management of technology-oriented industries, grew up in a very service kind of mindset, where the customer, whether it's in US or Europe, would give them the specifications, and then the Indian organization would go deliver against that specification. Now, when you're doing product engineering, it's a very different mindset. So what is missing in the Indian professional that I find when I'm recruiting people there is the ability to take ownership and end-to-end life cycle management, which comes very naturally to a Silicon Valley professional. You kind of grow up with that mindset, you grow up with that sense of ownership and pride in the work that you do. So the average Indian professional doesn't take that routinely. So you have to inculcate that culture in them. Once they get it, they get it. I mean, it's the same people. I went through the same schooling system in India that the professionals in India are going through. So the raw talent is there. I think what people like myself and other Silicon Valley transplants that are going to India now can bring in big volume is that ability to take ownership and life cycle management and think product, don't think service. And because I think over the next 5-10 years, the big companies will be born that are being nurtured today will be the companies of the future that will have blended in product and managed services. And so that's where I believe the Indian mindset, having grown up from the service mentality and now getting an infusion of product talent from the transplants that are going back home, I think it's a potent combination that we haven't seen yet.
Then I want to ask you one last question about developing the skills, because you played the game on both sides of the field. Most of the professionals here in the Valley are technology professionals, but they have the eagerness to learn the fine aspects of management.
That's right.
And they struggle with it.
That's right.
How would you advise them to build on to their technical skills and move up the value chain rather?
Again, you have to have that fire in the belly. I think one of the panelists earlier today, Ravi, I think said it very eloquently. It's the passion, right? So as a technologist, you have great passion about your technology. So what I would encourage the technologist and the entrepreneur who's gone from the technology side is to really build that same passion about saying that there's the other part of the brain that needs to develop in terms of personnel management, HR management, business development skills, corporate development skills, strategic thinking, corporate planning. So those are skills that you need to kind of build it. It's like the brain is like a muscle, right? You got to exercise it. So as a technology entrepreneur, you've got to force yourself into a business development situation, force yourself into a corporate development situation where you can take a look at the business as a whole, as opposed to just saying, hey, this is my product. So just like I said earlier, you take ownership about the product, well, take ownership about the company, take ownership about the strategy. And you learn by doing, as opposed to, fine, you can go into an MBA. That's a great place to be right now. If you don't want to look for a job, go do an MBA. But even better, if you have a job, or if you're working on a venture, focus yourself on the business management aspects of it.
Great, thank you so much for your time. It's truly been a pleasure.
Thank you.